Ose Lecha Rav. Acquire for yourself a spiritual guide. That's what the Torah says. A few things that I want to clarify here. One, your Rav, or what you call your rabbi, does not rule your life. He's there to guide you spiritually as you make your choices in your spiritual journey, not exactly live your life. He's not there to make your choices for you. He's to guide you spiritually and in halakhic matters. Now, one thing that many people have confused with is as far as so-called rabbinical decrees. I mean, one needs to ask them, really need to ask yourself, where does it come from in the Torah as far as rabbinical decrees? Sure, there are heavenly decrees, judgments that are set in heaven for people. Sure, the Torah does say that the sages, like of the generation, are to protect the negative commandments, the don't do commandments, the don't do this, the don't do that, in order to prevent the breaking of a don't do commandment, which is a negative commandment. Now, for example, like for the commandment, don't commit adultery. Now, a sage could say, for example, not to be alone with a married woman in a room for 3 minutes with a locked door. Okay, that's a good example. As far as the whole, I'm just going to say, when I was walking outside on a Friday, I saw the Lubavitcher, and knowing what he was going to ask me, I passed by when he was close to me, about to ask his question. He asked me, "Are you Jewish?" So, I asked him, "Are you Jewish?" He said, "Yes." He asked me, "Am I Jewish?" I'm like, "What makes you ask that question?" So he's like, "You're not wearing tzitzit." Well, I'm not going to come off a workout, but if I wear it or not, I'm not even going to get into it. It's not even about that. As far as what the Torah says, when it comes to wearing tzitzis, the 5 books, that's, pretty much laid out for you there, is if a person is wearing a 4-cornered garment, then you wear tzitzit. That's the truth. Now, this whole thing about if you don't wear tzitzit, you're not religious or you're not considered religious is absolute BS. Nowhere in the Torah does it say wear tzitzis like these yeshivas instated for everybody to mandatorily wear tzitzis or mandatorily pray as well. No, that's when most people like that end up hating God in their bad times and going against religious people, causing all kinds of violence and shit. So, leaders, kindly refrain from this bullshit. I know better, than your students, who I de-brainwash from your BS. As far as tzitzis goes, nowhere in the Torah does it say wear tzitzis. Let's say like when you're wearing a t-shirt, for example. That's not a 4-cornered garment. As the Torah says, a Jew is to wear tzitzis if he's wearing a 4-cornered garment. You're not to frown or look down on a Jew and say he's not religious and project all kinds of your own nasty garbage onto a person who is most likely innocent in this area. Sure, there are so many scholars who know so much and just try to destroy an innocent person who really doesn't know too much about Torah. Keep your spiritual size to yourself. How about picking on someone your own size? All you rabbis, religious leaders, you know not to play with me. You always get in line when I walk by. You don't misinterpret stuff around me. Not to mention any names. Now, as far as, distributing smicha, for example, right? Or samicha, should I say. Maybe it'll please you more if I use words that you prefer that make a Jew who serves God look corny. Most of the fake religious leaders, posers of righteous men, fuck you. Now, as far as giving smichot out, sure, you have a big test to pass. There's a big test. You answer certain questions, whatever. But the people in this generation are very, very much failing, unlike all other past generations, to see what's in this man's heart. What's he about? You're distributing smichot to. I mean, sure, the Torah speaks of corrupt Torah scholars who use the Torah and its rewards and, performing mitzvot, observing commandments, and using that reward for bad things. That's why it says in the Torah, it's the worst to teach a wicked man Torah. Before you give smichot, right, kindly see who you're giving it to, no matter what test he passes. They've caused enough. What's the Erev Rav? A mix of Esav and Yishmael. When you have the Erev Rav, wicked leaders, especially inside of the Jewish people, whether it be Gentile or Jewish, the part of him that has a problem with you doing things the right way and making it corny for you is really Esav and Yishmael in the mix having a problem with it. So that's what you've been subservient to the whole time. So, Ose Lecha Rav, acquire for yourself a spiritual guy. I heard a little story from a rabbi. He says, a guy has a wedding invitation to go to. Relatives aren't religious. They don't really know anything about religious. They don't know anything about religion. Okay. He says, do they respect your religion if you go to this wedding and they don't make it a religious wedding? And these people aren't religious. They don't know anything. But the guy is. He says, they'd be pretty offended if I wouldn't go. And this rabbi says, I would never permit my student to go to such a wedding. Excuse me, nowhere in the Torah does it give you any kind of authority. Rav, Ose Lecha Rav, spiritual guide. Nowhere in the Torah does it give you any kind of authority to permit your student from going to a wedding. Doesn't matter what kind. Sure, there's a modest woman, you don't look at her. I guess maybe we should all just sit home all the time and not look at anything. Then it becomes a matter of life or death. You kill yourself on the inside. You get sick. That's what corrupt rabbinic leaders, the corrupt ones, want you to do. Listen, rabbinic leaders, I'm sick and tired of hearing your students coming up to me just because I hide my stuff and I'm not a show-off, telling me how to live some bullshit life. That you brainwashed them. They want to be brainwashed. They don't want to listen to the right thing. They don't want to get out. Okay. They're starting to preach this shit to me now. Keep your flock on a leash. If I keep hearing this bullshit, I'm going to make sure the whole world knows what the corrupt rabbinic leaders are about. You know not to play with me. This shit is starting to spread to me and it's becoming an inconvenience. I'm a world arm wrestling champion. I know how to get to the media too. Don't make me fuck you sideways now. You understand me? Now, Ose Lecha Rav, acquire for yourself a spiritual guide. He is to guide you. He's not to make your choices for you. And I just want to say, why have Gentiles subconsciously thought it's okay to make Jews look corny and like herbs and shit? Because that's what they're like. They want you to look like that. And they rob you from knowing the beauty of life. They make it all or nothing for you, and then you give up. Learn to fight them with your heart and with your mouth if you have to, because they're making you sick like this when it comes to your health. Torah says you can do it if it's life or death. It's going to get there if you don't do something about it. So therefore, it's life or death. No more bullshit.